In 1974, avian researcher Don Merton secured approval for one ultimate journey into Fiordland to formally verify that the Kakapo had vanished entirely. During the 25 years before this, the Conservation Agency had executed 61 missions across these peaks. 6 individuals were discovered. 5 among them perished. Merton was supposed to validate the unavoidable, yet rather than evidence of disappearance, he located 18 breathing Kakapo. Subsequently, across another landmass, roughly 200 additional ones. The complication was that almost every single one proved to be masculine. The initial verified female remained undiscovered until multiple years passed, and time was rapidly escaping. By 1995, merely 51 Kakapo stayed breathing. New Zealand subsequently initiated an unparalleled mission to rescue the breed. All the creatures were moved to secure islands, and each fresh nest became incredibly precious. Yet the most difficult phase of the recovery was merely starting. The Kakapo, Strigops hebroptilus, represents the heaviest parrot across the globe. Active at night and unable to soar, it scales up to 4 kilograms and endures for up to 100 years. It reproduces once every several cycles, and solely under a single prerequisite that humanity managed to comprehend much later than they initially presumed. For 60 million years, it thrived across New Zealand, lacking any single mammalian hunter. It never acquired terror because nothing existed to dread. When settlers brought felines, rodents, and mustelids, the creature possessed absolutely zero protection. The singular factor that preserved it was the reality that the most unreachable alpine basins stayed hunter-free longer than the remainder. It was right there within Fiordland, between 1974 and 1977, that bird specialist Don Merton uncovered 18 Kakapo following decades of looking, entirely males. A community lacking females is practically finished. The creatures breathe, yet multiplication remains unachievable. During 1977, the hunt moved toward Stewart Island, a landmass 160 kilometers toward the south. Over there, the echoing cries of roughly 200 animals were detected, yet once again, 0 females. Throughout 3 years, the crew maintained their pursuit. Afterwards, in 1980, a tracking hound directed a ranger to a creature tucked among timber roots, tinier, sleeker, more verdant. A female. The initial verified one across decades. Shortly, 4 additional ones were discovered possessing nests alongside offspring. The breed could multiply, yet the community across Stewart Island was dropping swiftly owing to wild felines. These creatures were progressively, between 1980 and 1997, relocated toward insular havens. They formed the bedrock of the 1995 initiative. Furthermore, they instantly started to disclose that the sanctuary was merely the start of fresh mysteries. Land masses lacking felines and mustelids. Additional nourishment. Continuous observation. Circumstances stood as the finest throughout the animal's whole recorded past. The creatures failed to reproduce. It remains crucial to comprehend a concept regarding insular conservation right here. The concept was hardly novel. It was initially utilized by Richard Henry long ago during 1894. He moved almost 400 Kakapo toward Resolution Island within Fiordland, the globe's premier isolated refuge for avians under threat. During 1900, mustelids navigated the waterway and eliminated the whole community inside a handful of years. Henry failed due to circumstances. The 1995 initiative had internalized this teaching. Territories were selected further away from the continent, meticulously emptied of hunters, and every delivery of supplies was rigidly governed. However, one threat was not eliminated because it was deemed unimportant: rodents. They avoided harming the mature animals. However, they located and ruined clutches alongside freshly emerged young. Information from the territories revealed that rodents were disrupting up to 1/3 of every reproductive effort. Among the 12 fledglings that emerged between 1980 and 1995 across 3 land masses, merely 3 endured. The creatures were breeding. The clutches were vanishing. The organization guarded the nurseries against rodents, yet even following this, the animals bred incredibly rarely and no person comprehended the reason. The group supplied additional provisions. They formulated synthetic nuggets holding every element they could recognize. The creatures consumed them. They appeared robust, yet they practically never bred. Years of study ensued. The Kakapo refuses to multiply upon a temporal rhythm. It anticipates a trigger originating from a particular timber. Rimu, Dacrydium cupressinum, stands as a New Zealand podocarp conifer that might endure for 500 years. Once every 2 to 6 cycles, it generates a massive harvest, and this serves as the catalyst. A female kakapo absolutely will not commence reproducing until she has witnessed sufficient rimu berries, irrespective of how much alternative nourishment remains accessible. For a lengthy period, this was viewed as a psychological habit. The animal reacts to a surplus of sustenance, rational. Supply a bounty of alternative provisions and the identical reaction ought to occur. It failed to. During 2015, scholars at Massey University uncovered the solution. Rimu berries possess 8.4 milligrams of calcium per gram of dehydrated substance, vitally required for clutch construction alongside the bone maturation of the offspring. It additionally holds both variations of vitamin D, vitamin D2, and vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 had until then been viewed as purely animal-sourced, since academia maintained that flora failed to produce it. Rimu certainly does. For a mother building clutches and rearing an infant solitarily for months lacking any assistance from the partner, this represents a biological catalyst without which reproduction fails to commence upon the cellular scale. Zero synthetic meal could duplicate it since nobody comprehended what required duplicating. What this signified was the following. During cycles when Rimu upon a specific territory failed to blossom, Kakapo skipped breeding, irrespective of the organization's actions. The creature adhered to its personal conditions. 2002. Upon Codfish Island, Rimu yields emerged in colossal volumes for the initial moment across multiple periods. The opportunity unlocked. The initiative resolved to optimize the result. Rigorous additional nourishing of all mothers to guide them toward the finest achievable physical state for reproducing. The reasoning stood straightforward. A robust mother equals extra clutches, extra young. Extra offspring were indeed delivered, yet when the crew tallied the genders, it emerged that 70% were masculine. Within a breed where males previously eclipsed females, the organization had simply worsened the discrepancy using its personal hands. The system turned out to be ancestral. The Kakapo stands as a breed where males range 30 to 40% heavier than females and demand extra materials to mature. A well-nourished mother channels extra into the expensive males. A primal biological reasoning that operates contrary to a tiny community striving to bounce back. The fix appeared contradictory. Decrease nourishment toward the threshold where the mother stays robust enough to reproduce, yet avoids gathering surplus mass. At this tier of consumption, the gender proportion reverted to roughly 50-50. This marked the premier occasion within history that the gender of a complete species offspring had been intentionally modified via alterations to the mother's nutrition. The community expanded by 39% during the 2002 period. Yet purely because the group comprehended you cannot blindly give the creature more. You must provision it exactly like it might discover sustenance across wilderness, nothing extra. From that juncture, the path shifted, hardly abruptly, gradually, cycle by cycle. During the cycles when Rimu blossomed, 2005 delivered a handful of young. 2009 yielded extra. The community surpassed 100 members, subsequently 150. Every cycle lacking Rimu represented a halt. Every cycle possessing Rimu served as a stride onward. By 2016, the collective had duplicated compared to 1995. Throughout the subsequent 6 cycles, it duplicated once more. The organization decoded the genetics of every breathing Kakapo alongside several of the deceased. One among the premier occurrences across history where researchers had thoroughly mapped the blueprint of an entire breed, not a fraction, but each member. The deduction appeared grim. 36 distinct hereditary bloodlines. For extended endurance across a demographic constriction, a baseline of 50 remains necessary. The Kakapo sat already beneath this limit and could never surpass it since the foundational substance no longer remains. Those 51 animals of 1995 represented absolutely everything. All 236 breathing nowadays stand as their progeny. This implies that wardens are no longer directing merely a collective. They are orchestrating progression. Each union gets scheduled alongside hereditary archives. Clutches get shifted among nurseries, ensuring that a mother nurtures an infant possessing biology as divergent from her personal ones as achievable. Several young get manually raised and restored toward the wild habitat. At this stage, the initiative's mechanical inventory had progressed far past broadcast beacons and journals. Whenever a mother rests upon a shell, wardens occasionally swap it for a duplicate. The genuine shell gets moved toward a hatcher featuring regulated warmth and moisture. The mother keeps resting and anticipates zero deceit. The duplicates get crafted by Weta Workshop, the identical enterprise that built artifacts for the Lord of the Rings. Fabricated upon a 3D creator, accurately balanced, featuring a broadcaster indoors. At a specific phase, the shell commences to vocalize, readying the mother regarding the infant's emergence. Whenever the offspring inside the hatcher achieves the proper maturity, it gets restored. The mother embraces it as her personal kin. This hardly serves as a deception for its pure amusement. Synthetic hatching boosts shell endurance statistics. Concurrently, the mother might regain her vitality, and within a Rimu blooming cycle, reproduce a secondary round. During 2019, 30 mothers bred twice. That stands as what generated the historic 73 juveniles. A creature that had endured for 60 million years showed itself too scarce to bounce back, lacking manual oversight of each delivery. It occurred throughout this phase that the organization managed to comprehend an additional reality. Every creature within it represents a personality, not a statistic upon a ledger. This was showcased most colorfully by Sirocco. The Kakapo recorded breathing upon BBC during 2009, striving to copulate alongside a researcher's skull. The footage became widespread. Sirocco got designated authorized representative for the breed, the singular Kakapo allowed to maintain interaction alongside mortals. He remains still breathing, still conducts public viewings, and still acts erratically. The organization executes zero effort to alter this. 2019 was anticipated to represent a victory. Rimu blossomed at historic tiers. Mothers bred in droves, 73 juveniles, the highest across the initiative's whole past. And subsequently, aspergillosis emerged upon Codfish Island. Aspergillus represents a mold existing universally throughout the surroundings. Inside robust animals, the biological defenses handle it. However, Kakapo, possessing their hereditary restriction alongside packed breeding gatherings, proved susceptible. 21 creatures became contaminated. 9 perished, mothers and offspring. The organization withdrew 51 animals toward the continent for remedy within menageries and medical centers. 51. Precisely the figure that had stayed during 1995. The surge got suppressed. The remainder of the creatures were rescued, yet the contagion showcased what biologists had been cautioning regarding for years. The whole collective resides upon a scattering of land masses, bears 36 hereditary bloodlines, and harbors a shared defensive weakness. A solitary bug upon a single landmass might devastate what 30 years of labor had constructed. That remains why the initiative started contemplating regarding the continent, not like a victorious comeback, but as a safeguard. If illness impacted one territory, They're required to exist a secondary community someplace different. 2023. 20 masculine Kakapo get shifted towards Sanctuary Mountain, Maunga Tautari, a continental haven across the North Island, shielded via a 50-kilometer hunter-resistant barrier. For the premier occasion inside more than 100 years, Kakapo walked upon continental New Zealand. The organization had held them upon islands throughout 40 cycles, hardly by choice, but since the continent stood hazardous. This proved not a victorious comeback toward the wilderness. It stood as the initial careful endeavor following 4 decades of insular protection. 6 from the 10 animals inside the premier batch scaled past the barrier by their personal volition. The Kakapo ascends using its beak and talons, and a 6-foot steel barricade failed to halt them. They got captured and restored toward the sanctuary. The barrier architecture got tweaked. A secondary endeavor got initiated. This represented the identical event that had been unfolding upon each landmass since 1995. The organization constructs parameters, the animal dismisses them or discovers a path past them. The crew evolves. The creature indicates where the subsequent limit resides. The Kakapo acts purely doing whatever it has executed throughout 60 million years. February 2026. 236 Kakapo starting from 51 across 31 cycles, spanning 4 land masses, alongside a singular continental refuge. Each creature bearing a moniker, every union arranged, and as this dispatch broadcasts, a phenomenon is occurring that has never transpired previously. Upon February 14, 2026, the premier infant inside 4 cycles emerged upon Pukenui Island. It got dubbed Te Waire A1. Rimu that cycle blossomed at historic tiers, 80 nurseries, 256 shells. By April, 95 young had emerged. The prior peak, 73 juveniles during 2019, got shattered. 2026 stands officially the grandest period across all of documented past, the Department of Conservation penned upon the initiative's ledger. However, there remains a specific that clarifies why this occurred currently. During 1995, the organization possessed 51 animals, 31 males, alongside solely 20 females. 31 cycles of nutritional adjustment, hereditary logs, and orchestrated unions supplied an outcome. Nowadays, there exist 83 mothers of multiplying maturity, 4 multiples extra than at the genesis. The creature finally harbored adequate females since mortals expended 30 cycles absorbing what it kept communicating regarding sustenance, regarding Rimu, alongside regarding the gender of its young. The technique of insular defense that got spawned as the singular path to rescue a single animal stands nowadays utilized upon 300 territories spanning the globe. 820 recorded removal missions across 666 land masses, 88% triumphant. Nevertheless, here remains what counts to comprehend regarding these 236. Each stride that guided toward this figure transpired since the creature declined to perform whatever was anticipated from it. Declined to multiply until the organization eliminated the rodents. Declined to breed lacking Rimu until academia comprehended the motive. Generated the incorrect infants whenever overnourished until the initiative mastered calculating energy much accurately. Scaled past the barrier whenever restored toward the continent. Humanity constructed the framework. The creature indicated where it failed to function. And thus it proceeded throughout 31 cycles consecutively. Richard Henry, the ultimate Kakapo, originating from the Fiordland collective discovered during 1975, titled Honoring the Environmentalist Who Succumbed Against the Mustelids during 1900, delivered his input. During 1998, he sired 3 young. He passed away during December 2010 at roughly 80 years of maturity. Don Merton, the avian researcher who declined to accept regarding the breed's vanishing, whenever everybody otherwise agreed, journeyed toward Codfish Island during November 2010 to bid farewell to him intimately. He outlived him by merely 4 months. 236 animals bearing monikers, their masses logged yesterday, their hereditary archives upon mainframes. This stands as a pact alongside wilderness upon the creature's condition. During January 2026, Deidre Vercoe, the initiative's logistics director, stated, "We desire to forge robust, independent collectives of Kakapo that flourish, not simply endure. Alongside every triumphant period, we target to decrease the tier of rigorous manual oversight." Throughout 31 cycles, the organization escalated its dominance, ensuring the animal might endure. Currently, its objective remains the reverse, to diminish that dominance, ensuring the creature might exist upon its solitary power.